metaphor before. The fish is not aware of the water. The fish is in the water, right? At least not as aware of it. But people outside of the testing, and they're getting periodic updates. Things could be changing quite a bit, so it would be smart to think about that and say, with this dramatic change, maybe I need to be more detailed into what's going on. And then finally, a part of how the project moves forward. You don't want to make the mistake that I often refer to as the dead fish on the conference room table, not to belabor too many fish in too many ways. The dead fish on the conference room table is to come in to a project status meeting, give a completely negative and depressing report on how horrible the test results are, how completely fictitious the schedule has been revealed to be, the abysmal progress towards getting the problems fixed that is going on, and just the overall nastiness of the scenario. And the worst thing there is to top it off with a flourish of, you guys will remember I was telling you at the beginning of this project that we were going to get into this place, and now here we are. And then you sit down. So that's the dead fish. You don't want to do that. You want to be suggesting paths forward. You want to be connecting to how the project succeeds. You want to be constructive. If you bring up problems, have proposed solutions and lay them out there. You may say, it's not my job. It's somebody else's job. But look at it this way. The project is probably going to move forward. The question is whether you want to help determine the direction in which it moves forward, or whether you want to be a bystander, a victim. There's a lot of leverage that you can exert that moment where you're delivering some bad news. At no point will you have more influence over how a particular problem is resolved than at the point at which you make people aware of the fact that the problem exists. If at that point you also have a solution, you've got a very good chance that solution will be the one people pick. Okay, so that concludes the presentation. At this point, I'm going to answer questions from the audience. Please submit any questions that you have using the webinar Q&A feature. Now, before we start the questions, I'll just say, for those who missed the introduction, that the December and January webinars have been rescheduled slightly due to some minor conflicts. Times are going to be the same, but the dates are going to be a little bit different. So if you've already signed up, you should get an email update from GoToWebinar. In fact, most of you will probably have already gotten it because I've already changed the dates. Did that just after the afternoon running of this webinar, at least afternoons in the United States. If you sign up now, once the change has been made, then the right date will show up when you sign up. Unfortunately, the website date has not quite yet been changed, so there'll still be a momentary bit of confusion there, but the invite that we'll be sending out here shortly will actually show the correct date and time, so just ignore the website for the moment. And also, again, for those of you who have been wondering why I sound like I do because you missed the first few minutes, I have just a tremendous cold, so thank you all very much for bearing with me as I have sneezed and coughed and sniffled and eaten cough drops and done other things that I'm sure probably didn't sound like the best possible thing going on the other end of the phone, but I do seem to be surviving the experience, and thanks for sticking with me. Okay, so let's see what we got here in the way of questions. Who's got questions? A question from Yok Wee Chung. In quality risk, bugs versus test coverage slide, how do we determine the right coverage for individual risk area? That is a great question. And that is risk-based testing, basically. What we're going to do is risk item by risk item. We are going to assess the level of risk, and we're going to cover that risk item based on the level of risk. The higher the risk, the more we cover it. excuse me. You can find out a lot more about risk-based testing in any number of my books, like Pragmatic Software Testing or Advanced Software Testing Volumes 1 and 2, and Managing the Testing Process, the new 3rd edition. They all talk about it. There is an article about risk-based testing that is out on the Basic Library that talks about a case study of how we helped introduce risk-based testing at CA, doing one of our one-week risk-based testing jump starts for them. The other thing is that I'll mention this, the recorded webinars are now in our new digital library, and the podcasts are in there as well. And another thing that's going to be in there is videos, and we're going to do a year-long sequence of videos on risk-based testing, and we'll get to exactly this issue of how to do risk-based testing and explore many different facets of it. There'll be short little, 5-10 minute video clips at most, and we'll also have podcasts of those. So if you're interested in risk-based testing, I'd encourage you to go subscribe to our podcasts on the iTunes Store, RBCS podcast, search string, and you'll be getting a bunch of information about risk-based testing as time goes forward. Let's see. Track Nguyen says, in my company, developers take more time to fix bugs, so it affects the time of the test plan, and I can't control the test time. What should I do? Yes, great question. The important thing is to make sure that people understand that there are two things that determine the length of the test execution period. One of those things is how long it takes to run every test once. The other is how long it takes to get through the bugs. Pardon me. You can control you as a test manager or a tester can control how long it takes to get through the tests, but you can't control how long it takes to get through the bugs. The important thing is to use metrics like the ones I've just been going through today and try to help people understand, this is how long it takes to fix bugs, and these are the kind of problems that we're dealing with bug turnaround time and bug reopen and that sort of thing, right? Get that stuff out into the open, that help people understand that. I got a question here from David French. Please elaborate on recognize personally. So now one thing that's important is it is possible that you're reporting your results badly, and that could be making people upset. But it is also the case that what you're dealing with can be the case. What you're dealing with is transference. So transference is a psychological response. Excuse me. Transference is where you redirect feelings about one object towards a new object. So in this case, the one object is the test results. The new object is you. You are right there. You are the one reporting them. And so in this case, the person will feel angry about the project based on your reports, and then that gets transferred onto you, and that's transference. Now, transference is compounded by projection. Projection is where somebody ascribes to another person the feelings, thoughts, or attitudes that they themselves have. So a manager will assume, well, I'm upset at this test manager for these ridiculous reports, and therefore everyone else must be upset as well, which in their mind makes it worse. Or the whole project team's upset at you for your horrible testing and your horrible test results. We had this happen just recently, and a client was telling me about he found a senior tester's communication style really bad, and he was sure that everybody in the company was really upset with her. Well, I did some digging into this, and it turned out that the way he felt about her was entirely dependent on whether her work was going smoothly or not. And most of the time, that was out of her control. There were other people who were screwing up and damaging her ability to get work done. And everybody else found her really easy to work with. So this guy is classic transference and projection going on there. Transference and projection are always going to be potential problems when you're sharing bad news with people. It's just, there's nothing that you can't make that magically go away.